Well, looks like I'm recording now. Well, hello to anyone who's watching. This is the first episode of the First Lost podcast. Um, my name is Singer Winkosi, but for short, it's Singer. It's a long name, I understand. What this what this channel I am aiming to be about is about the financial world, specifically with South African markets. But of course, I will be diving into other topics as well. It won't be limited to that, but I am aiming to talk about that specifically because I have been learning about investing in finance for a while now. I'm not an expert at it. I wouldn't say that. I have some understanding in it. But I've noticed that when I learn or research, it's usually in the international context, right? Like, as in, I know more about the American markets than I do the South African markets, right? And I always wondered as to why that's the case. And I realized that there's not a lot of information out there. Well, it'd be wrong to say that. It's more like there is some information, but it's not really as it's not really as readily available for the average person in this country. And I am just trying to take what I've been learning and distribute out there. Just try to give it to as many people as possible. They can take and do what they want with it. Um, it's certainly not investment advice, that's for sure. I, I'm definitely not the person for that. I do have some knowledge, but that doesn't mean expertise. Uh, well, while I am growing it to some extent, you can say I'm more I'm more just doing it because, well, I truly just enjoy um, just learning about all this, how the capitalist system works, how it's currently working in this country, how it's working around the world, um, the ways in which the world is using it, the updates happening in terms of progress, how's the world going in terms of being forward looking regarding how we can use the system to be improved for the future, or how the future and its implications or our understanding of it can be used to improve the way we operate, or to use the financial system or financial systems, if I can say. Yeah, that's what I'm really interested in. That I decided, why not just make a channel where to talk about this? I mean, I don't see why not. I'm pretty sure there's some people interested as well, who would see this as an opportunity for them to gain some curiosity, learn about it, be like, oh, okay, so APCs happen around the world. Interesting, because, well, there's a lot of, well, from the kids my age, anyways, there seems to be a lot of negativity regarding as to how the world is operating and stuff, and that there's a lot of secrets being held, which isn't really the case. It's just that it's hard to find the information because not many people are actually looking for it, like actively looking for it, right? And excuse me, and I'm just deciding to go ahead and say, well, it is available. You just need to try to find it, really. And I understand that there isn't everyone who's actually trying to find it. They just only, like, are passively saying in their head, "Oh no, it isn't available," and then they stop there. Which, if they want to do that, and if they think it's productive for them, that's fine. We can't do anything about that. I just want to say, hey, information's out there. I want to give it out. Maybe we can have a look at it too. Like, while I've been learning about investing, as I said in the beginning, I've mainly been focusing on the international market, specifically the American and also European at times. I decided to make this also decided to make this podcast as an opportunity for me to learn about this country's market, and to go and record my journey while I'm learning it. Right. And what I've been learning so far is pretty interesting, I must say. Well, for me anyways, pretty interesting. Right. It's very easy to say that this country is poor, While that isn't necessarily the case, it's not that we are a poor country, it's that we are a very unequal country. If I can use that term correctly. I think I am. But yeah, that's it. Definitely seems to be more the case in that we definitely do seem to have the finances to do a lot more good, but any South African will understand that many people who do have the money to do good really aren't. And and for whatever reason that they're doing that for, I mean, can be for a lot of reasons, plethora of reasons. We don't really know. Information can be out there, but of course, it's a complicated issue, right? And I am not really focused on the whole politics behind it, just more um, on the updates in terms of what's happening in our markets, right? The South African economy, if you will. Yeah, yeah. Because I've been I've been thinking about like how it's too unlikely that we can be a poor country if in fact there are people who are willing to invest from outside the country, right? And through this whole thing of foreign direct investment, right? And that's been something that's been like bothering me for a while. Like, okay, because I used to think that like we were also like a poor country, right? Then I was just so curious, just like thinking, wait, why would why would any large investor, or whether it be an institutional investor or countries or international organizations or banks, why would they come and even try to put money here in the first place? Why are we trying to encourage them to do so, right? If we were, I understand that if you are of course a poor country, that would be the case. Try and have as many eyes on you as possible. Also have large access to funds and through investments from other people, other places, it will allow you to use those funds in a way that can actually improve a bunch of a bunch of the various important things we need: infrastructure, healthcare, uh, telecommunications, so on and so forth. But it's just can't really put it into words yet. But there's just something I've just been noticing in terms of there's a lot more opportunity here than what we actually think, right? Definitely a lot more. Because I would assume that if the people getting rich during apartheid were, or should I say, are able to still continue to make money now in like a legal way, I would assume that there's more opportunity now than there was back then. I would assume that, right? Legal ones, of course, legal ones. And yeah, and I just want to explore what those opportunities are. Um, and if you yourself also curious to try and capitalize on it, I would personally say you can go look into yourself, and also talk to a financial advisor, please. Like I want to do that, but of course, still young, still in school, so not yet, not yet. But in the future, definitely will, most definitely, yeah. But anyways, what with the few things I want to talk about for this first episode is, well, a few of us understand what Bitcoin is, right? Well, there's more of us learning about it and how it can make you money. I personally don't really care about that. About the fact that it can make 100 rand become 100,000 rand. I don't care about that. The idea of it, or should I say, the system it's using, the the technology, the blockchain technology, is probably one of the most significant things we're going to be using later on in the future for the whole of humanity. Most likely, from what I'm seeing, anyways, because it's the idea that, well, like with Bitcoin, it's an idea that you can use money without a third party involved actually controlling that money, right? Those who are controlling the money are those who are using it. Just plain and simple, right? So and with Bitcoin, it's It's a digital currency, a cryptocurrency, if you will, that is, if I can say, it's being compared to gold because it can be used as a store of value, right? Kind of similar to gold. It's limited in terms of how much is available. Right now, there's about 18 million Bitcoin available to be traded, transferred, transacted. In total, there's 21 million though, right? And through the process of mining, it can then it can then be extracted, if I'm using the word correctly, in the Bitcoin blockchain system, right? And as more of that is done, there'll be more available, and because of how good of how effect of how fast it is, I should say, in comparison to using normal currencies to trade around the world. There's a lot of interest in it, right? And the idea of like cash that is completely digitized and no one is in control of it is pretty interesting, pretty interesting, especially with the actual technology that's used behind its creation, the blockchain technology, right? And and with that thing, right, I've been reading up on um, that there are a lot of countries around the world that are wanting to create their own cryptocurrency, right? It's called a CBDC, a central bank digital coin. Now, they're making this, from what I understand, because they see the usefulness in having a currency that is is um is always like readily available to be transferred at any point in time to anybody around the world. They see the effectiveness behind it. Its speed, the fact that anybody can have access to it if they have a wallet on their phone and an internet connection, right? It can be stored offline too, as a cold wallet that can be in a USB, or a cold wallet that's on your like device, whether it be a phone or laptop, right? And as for what those are, I would say look into it, right? I can't, well, not can't, but I'm still learning about it, so I don't think I have the expertise to recommend some on Play Store. Yeah. Some, of course, you can also just look up online, see which one is good compared to which other one, so on and so forth. Yeah. So yeah, with that being said, a few countries that are looking into it is China, and they're currently either creating their own digital one, or they have already made it. Not entirely sure about that yet. But one country that is looking into it is us, South Africa. The Reserve Bank is creating a feasibility study, which is essentially a study to see whether it be possible to make the rand be used on be can I say to be used on a blockchain system, right? And it's currently a study that will be ending on the year 2022, and they came out with the announcement that they're starting the study on the 25th of March 2021. And that to me is pretty interesting in the fact that there used to be a lot of hate around a cryptocurrency, in that it's a scam, it's useless, it's fake, um, it's worthless. But then if you read up on a cryptocurrency like a Bitcoin, it's it's definitely being implemented a lot more around the world. Like, it's being looked into by institutional investors, the ones with the large amounts of money. There's even a country that's now using it as a form of legal tender. El, El Salvador, like they recently came with it because of the fact that it's when it comes to Bitcoin, compared to most fiat, compared to most fiat currencies, which is basically a currency that is owned by a reserve bank and isn't tied to any form of value, like isn't hold. It's the amount of it available is only determined by like the actual reserve bank of any country, and through the process of quantitative easing, they can go and print as much as they want. Which, if you understand the basics of supply and demand, if you have any kind of product that has an infinite amount of supply, its demand will always be low compared to it, meaning its value will not be, it will, its value will always deteriorate every year. I mean, if you look at any fiat currency compared to when they were first removed from the gold standard till now, its value has been just raising like straight down to zero, right? Because it's solely decided on the central banks of those countries, um, only based on how much they're going to print out of it, right? Um, now, now that seems to be the same issue that could be made with a CBDC, because of the fact that while still owned by the central bank, and it's still gonna make as much as they want, from what I'm understanding, anyways. But of course, hopefully they can see with a currency like Bitcoin and seeing that, well, maybe quantitative easing shouldn't be something that should be looked into with a CBDC. And I'm interested in the fact that they are actually creating it, because it's almost like, if I could compare it, it's kind of like with Coca-Cola actually coming out with their products, and then there are other brands trying to make the same thing. That means there is great value in Coca-Cola itself. So much so that there are other brands trying to go and copy that, trying to mimic that product itself, right? And while that seems to be the case with countries starting to look into making their own cryptocurrencies, right? And uh, even though South Africa is saying that they aren't looking into making one, into making a CBDC, I'm pretty sure they will in the future. I definitely think they will. They're either going to take a cryptocurrency and make it a form of legal tender, like El Salvador's doing, or they're gonna try and make their own. Probably, probably. I honestly don't see why not, since well we can see that cryptocurrencies are definitely very, very, very efficient in terms of speed. Like a person from America can send me an Ether coin in less than an hour, and the fees are relatively low compared to if they were to send me cash using their bank, right? Ether, for those who don't know, is, well, if Ethereum, if I should say, because there are two, right? There's Ether and Ethereum. That's also a form of a cryptocurrency. It's not the same as Bitcoin, but it still uses the blockchain technology system, while it has its own, if I can say. Yeah, yeah. With it, there is a channel, a YouTube channel I'm watching, where they're saying that it's, if it can be, if you can think of Ethereum as sort of like the Android of it's almost like the Android of blockchain, in the sense that it's a place in which you can actually create a whole bunch of apps in which you can go like and reward someone with Ethereum, right? Meaning it's a place where you can literally make the Ethereum coin to be valuable through someone having to go and make an through someone has to go who has to go do an activity, and as a reward for the activity they actually get that coin, right? From what I'm understanding of it, anyways. And that to me seems to be pretty interesting, in the sense that it's essentially an ecosystem where you're just gonna make the whole coin itself to be very valuable in its own landscape, right? Like just like its own place, but its value is always growing because there's so many ways it can be used in terms of in terms of it being a place to reward someone for actually using the app that you have made on that actual system, right? Like you can make a game, and that game can literally go and like reward someone for every time they log in with an Ethereum coin, which does seem to be interesting to me, anyways. Definitely interesting, right? And so back to this thing of the feasibility study. Um, it's just a, it's just essentially a study to look into whether or not it would be worth actually creating a CBDC, right? A few countries have looked into it. China, America is also creating one, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and it seems that China is the one that's pushing forward in terms of actually creating a CBDC, and we all seem to be looking into it as well, right? And another reason as to why I think that we're most likely gonna have our own is because there was another feasibility study of making um, of making a payment system to be used on a Ethereum blockchain that our country did in 2017. It was called Project Cork. Yeah, KHOKHA for those who can't think of, who don't know how to use that word. Yeah, just look into it. It was a feasibility study done to see if um, if the rand can be used on if there can be a payment system made on the Ethereum blockchain using the rand, right? Which I'm not entirely sure as to how that is working or how that is supposed to work. But from what I understand, they from that from the feasibility study, they did see that it was likely that it could be something that is effective to actually do, right? And in 2018, the Central Bank magazine foundation, wait, what? Central Bank publication, sorry, it said that it was called to be the best distributed ledger project of 2018, right? Because that's when the like study actually ended, and that to me seems to be very interesting in that a central bank publication, which central banks, of course, are not a fan of cryptocurrency because it takes away its own its own use. It it's very interesting that they awarded a project that is thinking about using the Ethereum blockchain, and they are saying, or they were saying that that was the best project that came out for the best distributed ledger, which to me was pretty fascinating. Like, oh, okay, okay, so you guys do see the use in it or the value in it, and are trying to make it's something that you can use for your own fiat currency. Interesting. That would mean that while Ethereum is valuable in their eyes, our that seems to be the case. And what that means for you, the person who's watching this, if that means you should look into it, mm, I can't say anything. That'll be for your own. That'll be of your own decision. Yeah, your own volition, if I can say. Yeah, and and with that, Jay, and also the thing of and also with the thing of El Salvador actually using Bitcoin as a form of legal tender, and even encouraging people to go ahead and to actually make to actually go make a wallet and where they can go store their Bitcoin like a digital wallet, and they're saying in the for anybody in El Salvador who actually makes that, they will get $30 worth of Bitcoin, right? And that to me was pretty fascinating because like um it's showing that that excuse me, that cryptocurrency is definitely something that's being looked into as a form of value. It's definitely gonna be something that will be used a lot more in the future, definitely. Not many people understand it yet because unfortunately, there are people being scammed by it. Like, for example, there was a AfriCrypt firm that recently scammed people out of like billions of rands or something, like hundreds of billions of rand, if I'm not mistaken. So there will, of course, be regulation that we looked into to ensure that with actual companies that are creating a place for you to access these currencies, that of course they actually are ethical and do hold up to anti-money laundering standards, if I can say that. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that was something that I was looking into recently, and I found it pretty fascinating, right? And also, the there seems to be a thing of the world's largest telescope, radio telescope, being made, right? It's a two-part telescope system, from what I'm understanding, that's being made in Western Australia and South Africa, and it's being highly praised by scientists in terms of it actually finally being announced. It was first the idea of it was first planned in the late 1980s, 1990s, yeah, in the late 90s, yeah. And it's been 30 years in the making of it actually having to be approved for it to be finally made, right? And with this radio telescope, it's basically going to be able to provide clearer pictures of various parts of the universe, even more clearer than the Hubble telescope, which is the biggest and best telescope from what I'm understanding, right? And well, you're probably wondering why am I talking about a telescope if I'm supposed to be a finance channel? Well, any kind of project is going to involve construction, right? Meaning there'll be companies who will be looking into assisting in terms of building said thing, right? And anything that is of value to anybody or any group in the world there's definitely some monetary value in it, regardless of what it is. And with this, of course, since it's something that will have to be constructed and will take a while to do, from what I have read up, it'll probably be finished round about by 2029, and or that's when it will first be used. Not used, but it actually first, yeah, being used is the word, yeah, yeah, first being used. And because of that, I definitely see it as an opportunity in terms of looking into the companies that are going to be involved in it being constructed, or ways to actually look into how can you possibly invest into whatever will be used, whether it be the minerals, the materials, the companies, ETFs that actually hold those companies, how you can actually just go ahead and benefit from that, right? Because of course, with those companies actually are being involved in terms of its construction, that would mean that they would go up in value, assuming, right? Because they're involved in what's apparently one of the biggest projects in astronomy's history, from what I'm understanding, yeah. Because the possible implications for actually making this is that we might see other civilizations because with radio waves, you're able to they were able to see at a larger distance and see much more clearer, right? And with radio, as some of us would know, hopefully, that it's something that of course we have been using on our planets, right? Around the whole world, in terms of it's just um, being used as a form of communication mainly, right? So if there's a planet that has a lot of radio waves being detected there, you would assume. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. They're saying with those that are actually making it, they're saying it could be potentially used as a way to see if there are any civilizations out there. Don't shoot, don't shoot the messenger, people. Don't shoot the messenger. this is what they are assuming, right? They of course aren't saying it's that they will find aliens, but if they are if they are out there, the chances of them finding them now are higher, right? But of course, I'm more just focused in terms of like how this can be used as an investment opportunity, right? Because anything that's being constructed in this country is, well, not this country, but in the world, there's definitely someone who has to be paid to make it. And that person and or company will either be available for you to buy shares of, or the materials that be used can be bought into, you know, is it using iron ore? Is it using platinum? You know, just the materials that are available to be bought into in the JSE markets, or internationally if you wanna go buy via international brokers and stuff. Yeah. And also, there's also another company that's also going to be constructing stuff. I mean, there's a gold mining company called Goldfields that is going to be constructing a power plant. Called it'll be mining using solar energy, and that's a project that's approved by the government to be around about 300 billion rand. To still trying to understand as to how that valuation happened, but clearly there's a lot of there's a lot of people who are wishing to have that actually be done, right? And with regards to power, I mean, with energy, our country be having a whole issue with actually making, or well, not making, but actually maintaining and producing enough power for the whole country. ESCOM, right? Load shedding. We know the whole story. Um, there's now a there's now recently been a cap increase in terms of the private companies that are allowed to actually go ahead and generate their own power, right? It previously was one one megabyte, one megawatt, sorry. Yeah, 1 megawatt. And from what I have read, it seems to have now been increased to 100 megawatts, right? And 100 megawatts, that, from what I read up, can roughly power 10,000 homes, which is a lot of homes for a whole year, right? And with that, that means that there's going to be more private companies that will actually be able to power certain areas in this country, and that of course will happen slowly. Most likely, more private companies will be able to do that, seeing as that ESCOM cannot provide that service, right? And that definitely seems to be an opportunity to look into, because of the fact that, oh, excuse me, that while coal will not most likely isn't going to be the form of energy that will be used by say private companies. It's most likely going to be solar, basically renewable energy, right? And that can also be an investment opportunity, because that means that there are possibly public companies out there that could be bought into, potentially, don't shoot the messenger, potentially, that could actually be used to go ahead and buy into, for for the reason of that there will be something that the companies be of use in the future, right? Possibly, possibly. I'll also look into it, see if they're available. You, of course, going to. I can't recommend it. I can't recommend any. It is what it is. But yeah, that is my first episode. For those who are watching, thank you for watching. Um, if you want to, be sure to let me know about what you think. What else could I talk about? Possibly. Um, but but yeah, finally glad I got this over and done with actually making the episode, because I've been scared to actually make it. Not gonna lie, little fear. But yeah, definitely something I will definitely plan on doing more often. But I'll let you guys know in terms of when I'll make another episode. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Bye.